Today, on this Halloween leaning episode, we're going on a journey across America, coast to coast, forest to canyon, swamp to cliff, to explore 13 trails where something other than the wind might be watching. These are hikes with history, with tragedy, with ghosts, with stories that linger in the trees. So grab your headlamp, pull up the hood, step off the beaten path. Let's go where the wild gets uneasy. Welcome to Morbid Outdoors, the podcast that ventures deep into the shadows of the wild. Here, we unravel the mysteries of missing persons, explore spine chilling legends, and share the most morbid stories that nature has to offer. From the depths of the dense forests to the highest mountain peaks, we'll uncover the secrets that lie hidden in the great outdoors. Join us as we navigate the eerie, the unexplained, and the terrifying. So if you dare, grab your gear and let's embark on a journey into the unknown. This is Morbid Outdoors. Happy Halloween, everyone. I hope you're having a great day. And if you're taking kids to trick or treat, I hope you have fun and I hope that you are safe. Tonight, my husband and I will be going to Sundance Resort so that we can do their Halloween ski lift. We did it last year, not on Halloween, and it was really fun. And we are going back tonight to enjoy a turkey leg and all the fall spirit. My name's Elise, and I'm your host. And this is a bonus episode just for Halloween. So, last week, or I guess not even last week, earlier this week, I don't know what was wrong with my audio. It just sounded kind of quiet. I don't think I was like up to the mic close enough. So, I'm trying today. And the weird thing about that is that whenever I listened to it on my microphone or my headphones, it sounded fine, but then the playback sounded a little quiet. So I don't think I was as close to the mic as I should have been. So I'm trying that out today. So apologies for that. And today, what I have in store for you is Haunted Trails of America. We're going to be talking about 13 iconic and famous haunted trails of our United States. We'll begin in the Pacific Northwest and onward, where the beauty is sublime, but the past still breathes through the undergrowth. Let's take a trip to Granite Falls, Washington to hike Iron Goat Trail. On a 6-mile loop near the Cascades, following the ruins of an old railway snowshed, nearly 100 lives were lost in 1910 when a bolt of lightning triggered a catastrophic slide. Outside Online is my main source for today's episode, so I just want to quote them here because this is off of an article that was recently published on their website. So, hikers say on this concrete shell of a snowshed carries a watching feeling, dogs alerting, footsteps echoing. One wrote, "Our experienced trail dogs picked up and alerted on something. The whole trail felt oppressive. It felt like something was watching us." Imagine the mountain holding a memory of that day, and you're walking through it on this trail. This trail is near the Mount Baker Snoqualmie National Forest, and it sounds super creepy. Now, like I said, it's 6 miles with just under 1,000 feet in elevation gain, and it's rated as intermediate or moderate. There are steep switchbacks towards the beginning and end of the loop, depending on where you choose to begin. Multiple people on Reddit have said that during this hike, they felt uneasy the entire hike, and it's often been discussed as one of the spookiest places in Washington. Now we're going to head over to Portland, Oregon to the Witch's Castle. This is just a short trek from Civilization and Forest Park. It's an abandoned ranger station slash restroom from the 1930s, which was later destroyed by a storm and long rumored to be the site of a teenage mischief and witch rituals. But before that, the land belonged to the Balk family. A violent 1950s murder occurred nearby. Mortimer Stump killed by Danford Balk. Legends say their spirits and that of Mary Jane Balk and this so called witch roam the ruins. So when you wander among the moss covered stone arches, you're not only in the forest, you're in history. So, this is how the story goes. It wasn't just a random murder. Mortimer Stump fell in love with one of Danford Balk's daughters and asked for her hand in marriage. But Danford refused, threatening to kill the man if he continued to see his daughter. Of course, like most teenagers, the relationship didn't end, so Danford shot Mortimer in the face with a double barrel shotgun. Danford became the first man to be legally executed in the state for committing murder. So, very grisly crime happened out here, and it is really creepy. Portland ghost hunters report that both Danford and Mortimer haunt the land, or the ghost of Mary Jane, who has been deemed to be the witch of the house. Now, let's head over to Spirit Lake, Idaho. We're going to visit Tessamine Trail. This is a 3.5 out and back in Spirit Lake, Idaho, and it's breathtaking for more reasons than one. It's difficult to find, but it's easy to trek. It's got lake views and just under 400 feet in elevation gain. When your GPS pings for you to stop, trust it because it is really remote. And the turnoff to the trailhead looks like someone's private driveway, but shortly after you make the turn, you'll see the Inland Empire sign, which points you to the trail. Now, you might be wondering why this trail is haunted. Well, let's talk about it. The story goes that there was a chief of the Kootenai tribe, and he had a daughter, and her name was Fearless Running Water, who loved a Kootenai brave, whose name was Shining Eagle. The leader of a neighboring tribe wanted her hand in marriage, so to avoid war, her father agreed. Hearing the news, she and her brave bound themselves together and leapt into the lake at a spot locally known as Suicide Cliff. Their bodies were never found, but locals and visitors alike say that when the wind is still and the moon is bright, the couple's shadowy figures can be seen drifting across the lake in a phantom canoe. In the spring, it is said that their cries can be heard as the ice melts and the spirits are released. But that's not the only thing that's spooky about Spirit Lake. Rathdrum Mountain Park and Hoodoo Mountain are known for paranormal activity. You can hike Rathdrum Mountain Trail for an insane view of Coeur d'Alene Mountains, or take the short trek up to Slate Creek Hot Springs adjacent to Hoodoo Mountain. Let's move inland, where old mines whisper, war roads scar, and the abandoned rail tunnels pierce silence. We're heading over to Drummond, Montana, to Garnet Ghost Town. Garnet is an actual ghost town, and it has a 3-mile out and back trail easy to complete with nearly 500 feet of elevation gain. During your trek, you'll pass two abandoned mine shafts, throwing you back in time to when this town was bustling during the gold rush. But this trail does require a permit. Now, during its heyday, this ghost town used to have 1,000 people in the 1890s, most of them mining for gold. It took only 2 decades for the town to be abandoned after the gold dried up, and it remained well preserved. And this is a very interesting part of this history. In the early 2000s, the Huffington Post published a story about Garnet, stating that the Department of the Interior was looking for folks to repopulate the town. Those interested in moving here would receive a furnished cabin and a food stipend. And the phone rang off the hook for weeks, so a lot of people were interested. Since it's well preserved, there is a saloon at the center of town, and many people have noted that late at night, the spirits of Garnet come out to play in the moonlight. Sometimes in the winter quiet, a piano tinkles in Kelly's saloon, and the spirits dance to ghostly music. You can hear men's voices echo in the empty rooms. But the moment a living human hand touches the building, the noises stop. And if you want to experience this for yourself, you can go do it. The visitor center remains open and two cabin rentals are available December through April by calling the Missoula Field Office BLM. That would honestly be really fun. It's kind of like staying in an preserved fire lookout tower, but you could actually stay in a legit ghost town, and that is something that I might seriously look into. Next, we'll be visiting the Grand Canyon in Arizona. Now, this is a trail that I have talked about before on Haunted Parks, and a lot of people report paranormal activity, and this is on the Transept Trail. This is located in Grand Canyon, and it's just under 4 miles of trail with about 400 feet of elevation gain. This route connects the Grand Canyon Lodge to the North Rim Campground. And on this hike, you hike alongside a canyon most of the climb and pass through an ancestral Puebloan ruin halfway through. If you're hiking as the sun goes down, you may hear calls from the local wailing woman. Now, this is a long believed legend, and basically, a young woman was traveling through with her husband and son shortly after the Grand Canyon Lodge was built in 1928. Her husband and son went on a hike on what is now the Transept Trail without her, and they were unfortunately caught in a storm. They both died, and the mother, reported to have been dressed in a white dress with blue flowers on it, ended her life in the lodge when she learned of their deaths. Lots of hikers have reported hearing her wail along the trail, while others say they've actually seen her ghost, dressed in white with blue flowers. The original lodge burned to the ground in 1932, and some witnesses reported seeing her in the flames. Next, we'll be visiting Village Walk in Golden, Colorado. Village Walk Trail is just about a mile out and back with not even 200 feet of elevation gain, but it connects to the Village Ride Trail to form a loop, which is just as long. This was settled outside of the town of Golden, and hikers can catch an eerie glimpse of the Mount Vernon House, one of the two remaining structures in the area, along with the ruins of Mount Vernon Cemetery. Interestingly enough, Mount Vernon was one of Colorado's first settlements. There are only a few headstones left standing in the ruins of its cemetery, but that doesn't take away from the uneasy feeling that it gives. Mount Vernon is a popular place for hiking, jogging, and mountain biking, but it's also whispered to be haunted by the bodies of those now without graves. Next, we're headed to Zombie Trail in Wildwood, Missouri. Zombie Trail is located in Rock Hollow Park near Wildwood, Missouri, and it's 5.2 miles out and back with about 500-foot elevation gain. It was first used by Native Americans to cross the Merrimack River and saw heavy foot traffic during the Civil War. The path was greatly destroyed over time and nicknamed the Zombie Road in the 80s. There have been unexplained accidents happening ever since. Hikers have described experiencing dread on the zombie trail and hearing cries, most commonly of what resembles what an old woman would sound like. There have been multiple deaths documented in the area, but mostly of workers experiencing accidents. Some hikers even claim to have seen shadowy figures and blue light, and there was even a horror documentary released in 2007 by the Booth brothers calling Children of the Grave that aims to show a shadow nest of ghost children still haunting these woods. When you tread this trail, the past just doesn't follow, you feel it. Now let's head over to Old Man's Cave Trail in Logan, Ohio. Old Man's Cave Trail to Naturalist Cabin is a mile-long loop in Hocking Hills State Park, named to honor an early Ohioan who lived in one of the caves. During the hike, you'll see multiple waterfalls and stunning sandstone cliffs. So the man whose this trail is named after, his name was Richard Rowe, and he died via a gun accident near the cave. The spot he was buried in was never marked, and hikers hiking this trail have mentioned seeing the ghost of an old man and his hound dogs ever since. Nearby, there's a tunnel called the Moonville Tunnel, and it's a railroad tunnel where workers died in the 1850s, and it's also said to flicker with phantom lanterns. The woods, the rock, the metal, they all remember in this area. Finally, let's glide down those humid marshes, climb southeastern cliffs, and finish on the Atlantic edge. Here, the ghosts are children, voodoo priestesses, Ancient Monsters. We're going to be visiting Ponchatoula, Louisiana, and here we're going to visit the Manchonk Ghost Swamp. So, this is a legend, and it's well known in the South. The story begins in 1915 with the death of Julia Brown, who was a voodoo priestess in the town of Finner, which no longer exists today. Her death actually came from a category 4 hurricane after she's prophesized that she would die and take everyone in the town with her. Generation after generation, nearby residents believe her spirit and the spirits that worked with her haunt this swamp. The only thing on the island today is a mass grave where the dead are buried. And in this swamp, if you paddle at twilight, you will hear things that you can't place and see shapes in the fog. Next, we're going to go to Maynardville, Tennessee, and hike the Ghost Loop Trail. It's 1.2 miles long, and it's a moderate loop that runs deep in the historic grounds of its early inhabitants. The trail flows into the big valley where the remnants of the famous ghost house stand. Locals say that unexplainable events have occurred along this trail, where a cemetery resides holding the remains of the Hutchinson family who used to farm the land. Lots of hikers and visitors have shared tales of cries in the woods and mysterious figures in the house. If you hike the Ghost Loop Trail, even a short walk can feel infinite when the past is unsettled. Next, let's head over to Whiteside Mountain in North Carolina to hike the Whiteside Mountain Trail. This is a 2-mile loop, and it's rated as moderate but quite steep. It's got 500 feet of elevation gain, and they seemingly all happen at once, and it is not gradual, so it's pretty steep. The Cherokees believed that Whiteside Mountain was a part of a vast rock bridge that a wicked monster was building across the mountain range. Legend has it that the Devil's Throne exists in a cave there, but more is found around Spearfinger, who is described as having skin made out of stone and one long finger sharpened to cut the flesh of its victims. According to Cherokee legend, Spearfinger was killed by local tribes, but her haunting chant still echoes through the mountains to this day. Locals say that they've heard it, and it goes like liver, I eat it. And I can't read the rest because I don't speak Cherokee. But creepy. I think I've talked about Spearfinger before because she is said to be in the Smoky Mountains area. So this is spot on, and I think this is a really, really creepy legend. Now we're going to venture to Bluff Mountain in Monroe, Virginia. This one is creepy. It has to do with the death of a child, so just fair warning there. Bluff Mountain Trail is located near the town of Monroe, and it's a hard 3.7-mile trail. It's out and back with a nearly 1,400 feet elevation gain. In 1891, a 5-year-old boy named Audie ventured out with other children to collect firewood to bring back to a schoolhouse near Bluff Mountain, but he failed to return. The boy went missing in March when snow covered the mountains and temperatures weren't survivable for long. Now, his body was eventually found and buried on the mountainside. His tombstone reads, "This is the exact spot little Audie Klein Powell's body was found April 5th, 1891, after straying from the Tower Hill Schoolhouse on November 9th, a distance of 7 miles, age 4 years, 11 months." Locals still say that you can see Audie wandering the woods looking for his way back home each year around the same time as his disappearance. Last but not least is Ridge Trail via Maiden Cliff Trail in Camden, Maine. This is over 5 miles out and back, and it's considered to be an incredible hike, but difficult because it has nearly 1,500 feet in elevation gain, and it's a breathtaking view from the top of Mount Medjugorje, gosh, that overlooks the Atlantic Ocean and the town of Camden. Maiden Cliff in Camden, Maine is named after Eleonora French, a 12-year-old girl who tragically passed away after falling 300 feet from a nearby cliff in 1964. Now, she fell off this cliff because she was reaching for her bonnet that had blown off of her head. She survived the initial fall, but later died from her internal injuries. A white cross can be found at the edge of the cliff along the trail, commemorating her life. Hikers say that they have seen her spirit wandering around the area, experienced strange cold drafts in the spot that she died, and heard her distant cries on windy days. If you listened closely, you'll notice patterns: old rails, abandoned settlements, tragic losses. All of these stories are laid across trails. So many of these hikes aren't haunted because of dramatic ghost apparitions alone. They're haunted because the land remembers. Nature has a long memory: warped rails, empty cabins, vanished children, drowned lovers, ancient monsters. They all leave marks. And when the daylight fades, when the wind shifts, when the forest quiets, that's when you'll feel it. Before you go chasing shadows, a few notes. These hikes are real wilderness. Slips, storms, disorientation, they're not legends. Many stories link to indigenous traditions, forgotten communities, tragic events. Respect the land and its past. Don't treat it like a thrill ride. Tell someone where you're going, bring gear, and stay aware. And if you feel something else in the woods, trust your instincts and don't stay static. Just picture this: you're alone on a ridge, the moon barely peeking through the clouds. Every tree is a sentinel, but the air shifts. You hear a distant drip, a sigh of wind. Something moves, and you ask, am I really alone? Or just walking beside someone else's shadow? These trails we covered, they're not just places to hike, they're places to be haunted. They hold grief, loss, wonder, memory. They remind us that when we step into the wild, we're stepping into everything that happened there too. So the next time you pack your boots, next time you step off the trail, maybe pause, take in the silence, and ask yourself, who walked here before me? Who's still watching? Thanks for listening today. Remember, nature whispers. It just doesn't always shout. As always, recreate responsibly and remember, sometimes the great outdoors aren't always great. Thanks for listening to Morbid Outdoors. If you're enjoying what you're hearing, make sure to subscribe to the show on your favorite podcast platform. It's free, easy, and it helps us out immensely. When you subscribe, you get updates on our latest episodes, and it also boosts our visibility, making it easier for other curious souls to find us. Another great way to support Morbid Outdoors is by leaving us a review. Whether you're on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen, a quick review helps us know what you love about the show. Find us on Instagram and Facebook at Morbid Outdoors Podcast. You can email us case suggestions and your campfire stories at morbidoutdoorspodcast@gmail.com. Thanks so much for the support, and I'll see you next time.